Final Score. Only on the Alaska Sports Channel. With Keaton Homer, Skip Hurst, and Heath Day. Stay informed with all local sports action. Final Score. Only on the Alaska Sports Channel.
Welcome to Final Score, Alaska's premier sports talk program. Skip Hurst and Keaton Homer on this side, Heath Day, Rick Whitbeck on the other, and we are taking you through all of Alaska's sports here and enjoying it as football season has started off. We started off the season on the 16th with the great game, Service versus Colony, and we're going to jump into that here in a second, but I was kind of surprised with some of the activities that took place all across the state in some of these games. Hopefully my picks ended up as good as I wanted them to be, but I'm sure there's a couple in there that didn't. But anyways, the Service Colony game was really a surprise. To be honest with you, I didn't think the Colony was going to be able to play as well as they did against Service. Maybe some of you are looking at me funny going, maybe you thought they were going to play better.
Service put up 6 unanswered scores
yeah.
after those first 2 touchdowns. It was all Service. And I wasn't surprised by that fact at all, that Service started getting on a roll. As soon as they got that first touchdown in the end zone and C.J. Toomer got into a rhythm, that they were starting to steamroll Colony with the passing game a little bit. Colony had some good, a couple of good plays here and there. The passing game looks somewhat solid. Of course, when you have 2 6'4" wide receivers that can run pretty well, that's going to bode pretty well for you. So they got to find ways to get them the ball as the season continues, but Service picking up kind of where they left off last year, looking pretty solid.
Service not even starting off with their starting quarterback. They had a backup quarterback starting off the game. You didn't see C.J. Toomer until it was time for him to punt the ball in the first series.
Yeah.
And Colony obviously looking a lot better in that first series at the start of the game because C.J. Toomer didn't start, but the rest of the game it kind of a little fell short.
Well, once Toomer got in the game, it was pretty much game over. I mean, Service, like Keaton said, 6 unanswered touchdowns. 39 points in the first half. I mean, it was pretty much over as soon as they started to get a little bit of a momentum. Now, getting to that momentum, the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game were pretty ugly.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into some of the highlights and see how Service looked as we started off the game. Rick, why don't you go ahead and take these off?
Absolutely.
Could have been gone, but I'm still here. So guess what? We gotta praise him.
K-Joe.
B-Dub.
Absolutely racked on the catch. Good receivers know how to hold on to the ball after contact. He did right there. Next, you're going to see a pass Toomer to Trayvon Allen. And Allen makes a nice little move. Running the option, Toomer kicks out to Levi Hansen. Hansen knows exactly what to do with the ball there. Takes it for about 15 yards down to about the 12. And from there.
What up, y'all? It's your boy DJ Marsky. If you have the desire to get closer to the Lord Jesus Christ, I need you to put your hands in the sky. Sing this with us. Let's move.
Never found a love like this before. I'ma keep moving, I'm moving, cause I'm chasing after you. Never knew that I could ever wanna worship you more and more. Lord, I'm so desperate, I wanna be closer, I'm chasing after you.
Just give me a moment and I can testify. I'm alive when I could have been left to die. Now I'm seeing it with desperate eyes, and I'm praying that the Father would keep me from being westernized. Dang, man, I'm in a great mood. It's a cinematic moment, I'ma take 2. My only job is to stay tuned. Press in, get close to the Father's heart while he makes moves.
Now I've been on the run since Tariq and B the guns had that one-hit wonder. No wonder I'm going under. My lungs, they keep hungering for reasons to keep breathing. Huffing and puffing, desperately seeking to find meaning. So I keep on moving to the rhythm of the beat of King Jesus. His pace, his race, he's master, I'm slave. Whatever it takes, chasing after him, eyes fixated on his face.
I ain't never found a love like this before. I'ma keep moving, I'm moving, cause I'm chasing after you.
Let's go!
Never ever knew that I could ever wanna worship you more and more. Lord, I'm so desperate, I wanna be closer to you. Chasing after you.
I'm on the move. I'm off the fence. Nothing more to prove. I'm all convinced the offer is awesome. It's all your sins sown out. Tossed up on the cross and then all your sins blown out. You guys are killjoy, boy. It's all a misnomer. Your cup will get filled, boy. All from this donor. New start, new heart. Gave me an organ. Now by grace, I chase you, JB and Morgan.
Got me on the run like I'm trying to make the track free. Gotta be the one, cause I'm shaking like a crack free. And a bad thing, dunking off the back screen. Monday Night Raw, hit the devil with the tag. Ran the ISO, made him
Khalil Brown. He had some speed, he had some great hands, and coming out, I mean, when you saw him on the punt return, which we saw a few times last year from Brown, being able to weave his way through the special teams and the defense, and being able to run out there and catch those passes and pick up big passes at that to really score points for Service. And Service seems like they're picking up right where they left off last year.
They do. You know, what's surprising to me about it, we're talking about Service being surprising, is not that they were able to do that they were able to come out and play, but that the level they looked like they were playing at. And we saw the same thing with the Southeast game, which we'll get to in a little bit. Leaves you with a question mark of how good is Service and South, or how bad were East and Colony in this case. Just first game of the season, a lot of things you're questioning as far as a coach. Can these guys who have not performed and never been at this level, can they do it? And so for Service and South, you get a resounding yes as the coach looking at those two teams. But you do have to question how much of it was the competition that we were going up against. And I will say another interesting point is that Toomer didn't start the game.
Right.
And he's clearly their starting quarterback. He started several games last year for him. So what was the reason for him?
And I think he probably should have started the whole season last year.
Well, we talked a lot about that last year. But another point that is interesting to me is, why was he not starting? Was it a discipline issue? Was there some equipment issue? What was the reason for not having your clearly number one quarterback on the field at the start of the season? That's just an interesting question that we may not get the answer to, but
I don't think we're going to get the answer to that, because I asked Coach Kern. So, I will say this. Keaton, you and I talked about it because we called the game. Colony looked really, really good in a lot of situations, but I think they were just outmanned. And, again, twin 6'4" receivers, they can both move. A quarterback that was their leading rusher last year has a cannon for an arm. We saw him launch a couple 40, 45 yards down the field. And a decent running game, which we're going to get into once we start seeing their highlights. They're not a bad team.
No, Colony's not a bad team. I think they just ran up and, like you were just saying, a team that's a little bit more athletic and a little bit more stout, and having those kids that, you have a starting quarterback, a senior, who's coming back, who had 5 starts under his belt, and the way he plays the quarterback position, he's probably the best in the state. And let's go ahead and take a look at the Colony highlights. Not as many as there were for Service, but Bryce Niver got things going for the Colony Knights this past Friday as he hooks up with Daniel Billiford. There's one of the 6'4" wide receivers as Billiford able to make a nice move. It was just a case of not being able to get those guys, Antonio Bush and Billiford, the ball that much. This is Fisher Summers, able to make a catch and then bulldoze his way down inside Service territory, able to keep the feet going, and you can see how tough of a guy that Fisher Summers is to bring down. He ran the ball really, really hard. You take a look at it once again, just bouncing off of tacklers and finally going down to the ground after about 4 Service Cougars took him down. Bryce Niver now looking toward the end zone here. Antonio Bush actually puts the Colony Knights up on the board first. They gave them a 7-0 lead, but it didn't last too long. Here's Tyler Harvey on a nice return, which will set up a scoring opportunity here for the Colony Knights as they take it back into the Service Cougar territory. Niver, once again, hooking up with his receiver, Daniel Billiford, breaks a couple of tackles, and Billiford, you can see how easily he got to the end zone after he broke a couple of tackles. Colony playing a little bit of defense here. Antonio Bush, the free safety, able to come over and make a nice play and get the interception, and then sets up another score. Bush had a couple of touchdowns, 4 catches, 42 yards, 2 touchdowns. Daniel Billiford had 5 for 96 in the touchdown. So you can see the kind of impact that those two guys have on the Colony Knights. It's just a matter of getting them the football. And Bryce Niver, having not played the quarterback position at the varsity level, he played at the C team and JV level, and then he was a running back last year. I think it's just a matter of time of getting him into the game, getting him in the flow, and getting some reps under his belt before they can start to really distribute the ball really well to those two main athletes.
And Colony not having a problem moving the ball, as you can see right there. They were able to get the ball out in the air and rush the ball because they were really hitting hard and rumbling and stumbling through there. But the turnovers, I think, for Colony are really what caused the issue and really putting Service in a position to where the interceptions and the fumbles on that kick return, putting Service in the position where they take off.
I think that kick return on where they fumbled the football and that second touchdown really deflated them.
Oh yeah.
You score in a span of 10 seconds, that can take the win out of you in a hurry. They tie the game up at 7, and then on the ensuing kickoff, you fumble it, they scoop it and score, and they go up, and it just kind of steamrolled from there. It was like quicksand. They tried and tried, and the harder they dug, the further they fell. And if they can start on the right foot and not turn the ball over early in games, I think they can compete out there in the Rail Belt Conference, given that there's only 5 teams now in that Rail Belt Conference. So Colony, later on in the season, might be making some noise.
And quarterback for Colony as well. We talked about just a few minutes ago the fact that he was the starting running back for last year. He's used to taking a lot of hits, but playing running back and playing quarterback, I mean, having a running back that has an arm is one thing, but the amount of hits and the punishment that he took throughout this game, while he was able to hand it off, and they've got some big running backs there, but like a Mike Allstott type of back there, but he still took a lot of hits and a lot of punishment. And I think Colony will be able to pick up from this if he can stay healthy.
Well, I think Fisher Summers certainly can be a grinder on the ground, but they're going to have to live or die by the aerial attack there, and you know that again, they have two guys that are 6'4". They're matchup nightmares for most schools across the state, especially once they get back into conference play.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, we'll take a quick look at Wasilla and West when we come back and see how they fared in their first game of the season. How long was that? The biggest name in Christian music is coming to Anchorage. Mercy Me. Live for one show only, November 1st at the Anchorage Baptist Temple Auditorium. Alaska's Z 93.7 Everybody Station and KATB Life-Changing Radio present Dove Award-winning and Grammy-nominated Mercy Me. For ticket information, call 222-4826 or visit everybodystation.com.
The McDonald Center in Eagle River is one of the best indoor sports and exhibit arenas in the state of Alaska. The MAC is one of only a handful of arenas in the state to feature an Olympic-size ice rink. The MAC Center even has programs to teach kids the basics of skating, and if you're looking to improve your hockey game, the MAC has programs to help improve your skills on the ice. Their new indoor turf is perfect for indoor soccer leagues. For more information about the McDonald Center and times of their programs, check them out online at mcdonaldcenter.net. See you at the MAC. The Alaska Sports Channel. We've got Alaska sports covered. UAA Seawolf men's basketball. UAA Seawolf women's basketball. UAA Seawolf volleyball. High school football. High school basketball. High school hockey. Alaska's only TV sports talk program, Final Score, and a lot more. All a part of the Alaska Sports Channel. We have Alaska sports covered.
Welcome back. Final Score. Heath Day, Rick Whitbeck, Skip Hurst, Keaton Homer. Other game we're going to look at here for a minute, talk about is the West versus Wasilla game. It took place on Saturday afternoon at AFS. You guys were there. What'd you see?
Well, West, I was expecting to come in, especially from last year and the years previous. They've been one of the powerhouses here in the Cook Inlet Conference. Coming back from Connor Feckley, probably one of the best quarterbacks Alaska has seen in a really long time in high school football. You like that?
Probably one of the best.
Okay,
he's the best.
He's the
There's
best.
not a statistic that he doesn't own that signifies good quarterback play.
That's like saying Dan Marino might be one of the best quarterbacks ever to see the NFL
Well,
field.
he probably would have been the best if he'd have made a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, move on. But I mean, coming out of last year, we showed West a lot of West games and the way that they overtook teams. And so coming into this year, even though they had a couple seniors that had graduated and we were having to replace them in some key positions, we were still expecting West to be able to really step up. And I was really thinking that they were going to go ahead and start off this season the same way that they had left off last year, just like Service did and just like South did. But they seemed to have a little bit of struggle on the offensive side. And coming up against Wasilla, that was a huge surprise to me.
Well, definitely, we talk about quarterback play being a huge thing, and at the high school level, it's almost more important than any other level in terms of you don't have quite as many other athletes around that can make up as much. So the quarterback's got to be able to get the ball, as we saw with Colony, to the right guys. And in this case, Sam Whedon, as a junior coming out, this is his first year starting as the quarterback. He played a few games last year when Feckley was injured at quarterback. But coming out again this game, we're going to roll some highlights here as they played Wasilla. And it was definitely turnovers that were the key. So we see him here. West is down. Looks like they're in scoring position just inside the 20-yard line. So in the red zone, throws a jump pass into the corner and intercepted by Edwin McGregor, number 6 there for Wasilla. West comes back, drives the other end. And this is later in the game. We see the same result inside the red zone, picked off in the end zone. Those plays hurt. On the flip side, number 12, we see Rialto's here, 11-yard touchdown run for Wasilla. And then same thing, looks like almost a similar play, only this time it's McGregor again running in from 6 yards out. Wasilla was able to run the ball, and West stuck with their air attack. You see over the middle here, aiming for Leroy Elliott in the middle. That same guy, McGregor, picks it off again. And then we're going to see him as they come back, a little flip pass here. The passing game, the running game was all working for Wasilla. Everything they were doing was just, it seemed to be working better than West was having. Rialto's here from 27 yards out. It looks like he goes out of bounds, gets tackled, but he's able to spring free and take it in down the sideline. Another great play here by McGregor. Another interception, jump ball. It looks like he goes up and just takes it out of the hands of Leroy Elliott down the sideline. And again, you saw the double coverage. Another one of those things you question as a young quarterback. And again, this is another one I would say the same thing. He's scrambling, throws it off his back foot, crosses body in the middle of the field. That same guy McGregor is sitting there waiting for it. So very much a learning game for Sam Whedon in his first full game start as a, hey, you're the guy this year. You're not filling in for somebody. You're the guy. And you saw some growing pains there that reminded me a ton of Connor Feckley's first game. When he came in, he didn't start. He came in as the third-string quarterback as a sophomore against Service, and had several interceptions in that game, but also threw for 4 touchdowns and 400 yards, and that was an exciting game. Whedon didn't get quite the same breaks to come out on top. That's why Wasilla was able to pull away with the win here, 24-14.
Well, and I think you could probably get away with throwing a couple interceptions if you are throwing 4 touchdowns and over 400 yards. The problem for Wheaton in this past game is he was spending so much time running away from the press. Like the offensive line was breaking down, and containment it was breaking down. He wasn't able to really set his feet and throw accurate passes, putting a lot of air underneath there. And even though we saw one of the interceptions there in the end zone by McGregor, he was the lone cornerback there covering 2 guys, but because of his height and the way he was able to jump up there and get the ball, he's coming down with it. But it seems a lot of those passes that Wheaton threw, there was just way too much coverage. And we're going to have a quick look here at some of the interceptions that McGregor had. These things right here, he's the only guy out there right now, but because of his height and his athleticism, he's able to jump up and get there. But Wheaton having to spend so much time running out of the pocket and struggling to be able to set his feet is unfortunately causing him to make poor decisions, and just really not being able to see the whole field, it looks like. I don't know if it's his height or what, but maybe he should have started off an offensive lineman like Connor, and it would have been a little bit different. But there were still a couple of things that really did work out for West. But the passing game.
This one's a duck.
Yeah. Well, and this was towards the end of the game. They were just trying to do something to come back and spark something. But McGregor was there to pick up the pass. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into some of the things that West actually did do pretty well. Special teams really worked out well for West. At least as we start off the highlights here, as we're gonna see West go ahead and kick off the ball, and Leroy Elliott. He's got some wings on the back of his shoes, and he just finds a way to pick through the line here and ends up running back a 91-yard return, and there is nobody catching him. I mean, you can see they're like 5 yards behind him. You are not catching up with this guy. And then Wheaton, one of the rare passes that worked out well for him, even though he's running away, he ends up miraculously finding Tyrone Davis for a 2-yard reception, who also has a pretty good arm on him and may have benefited for coming in and playing quarterback. But I know that West is trying to get some experience into their quarterback. It's the first game of the season, and I'm sure there was a lot of butterflies and everything in his stomach, and he was trying to pull away with this win and do everything he could to help his team, but he just struggled a little bit.
It doesn't get easier next week.
It's not gonna. Oh man, here we go. Oh
wow.
Who's West playing this week?
Here we go.
Here we go. Hey, defensive backs coach, if you
Coach
pick
him
off
up, right?
if you pick off 5 next week, I'll buy you dinner.
Oh, you heard it here.
If you can
Rick
get,
Whitbeck.
if you can get one guy to pick him off 5 times.
Yeah, well, I'm saying
that's
if you-
got to be a record.
I'm
though,
saying if
isn't
you
it?
get 5 picks in the game or more, I will buy you dinner.
I'm in for that.
One thing that I'll add into this, because having coached football at West, I know that those coaches are going to go through this film and they're really going to break down, which is what every coach does after the first game of the season.
Sure.
But as I said with South and with Service, questioning whether or not they actually got tested, West gets to go back and really pick apart and say, hey, we did not do these things well. And they're going to be able to pull those things apart. One of those interceptions, actually 2 of them in particular, you saw the quarterback scrambling and the receivers were running away. Well, a basic rule of football, quarterback starts scrambling, you got to come back to him. It looked like the secondary did, and so they got the interception.
Right.
Those are basic little things that don't take a lot to fix, but that when you look at it on film, you can identify, okay, hey, no, this didn't go like we wanted, but here's what we do to improve. And I know that West is going to do that. So it'll be an interesting game next week against Chugiak, who found a way to win this week. And
Found a way.
So that's going to be an exciting game. I'm looking forward to seeing it next week.
And there were some other great games too. If we can get some of the scores from across the state to come up here in a second, there's some other great games out there too. And we just don't have time to talk about everything in this show. But you know, this past week we had some great games come up and some surprising scores. To me, I actually thought, because when we look at South as they played East, they ended up 65-6. And I'm gonna tell you right now, that 6 points shouldn't have happened to begin with.
It was a fumble recovery for
yeah,
80 yards.
And
touchdown.
they couldn't even put the point after attempt in there. So I mean, when you look at some of these scores from across the state, there's some games there that kind of surprising to me. I really didn't expect the Malamutes to walk away with a win over Diamond either.
I didn't expect Bartlett to be up in that game late against Palmer. I mean, we were getting updates. That was Friday night game.
Right.
We were getting updates while we were doing the Colony service game, and Bartlett was up 15-14 until like 4 minutes to go in the game, and then they lost by 6. So, you know, that was a surprising score.
Well, you know, you look at those, and you got the Palmer Bartlett game, which you just mentioned. It was a 6-point game. The next closest game was the West Wasilla game, which is a 10-point game, and then it's I guess
Chugiak West Valley.
Chugiak West Valley at 11, and then boom,
bam,
it
exactly.
explodes, and you got 50 and 60-point differences. I mean, unfortunately, I kind of like what we saw last year, where we had that divide in Cook Inlet Conference, where you had these 3 or 4 teams that were blowing everybody out, and then you had the other half of the conference that was way down there. Hopefully, this is a lot of first week jitters, and they'll start to come back, and then we'll have more quality games instead of looking for those big rivalries when you get the 2 teams who are blowing everybody else out to come head to head. It's more exciting as a fan.
Or those 2 teams that are really, really struggling, and you hope that one of them break out sooner or later. So, you know, you hope you don't have to look at those and go, okay, this school is 1-5, this school is 1-5. Woo, we could have a competitive game.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, but you know what? If you're in the Valley, you should be impressed, because your teams are doing pretty good.
Except for Colony.
Well.
And again, I think they're a
still played pretty well,
playoff caliber
considering
team.
If it wasn't for those turnovers, I think they'd have been much closer in that game against Service.
Well, you look at who else is out in the valleys in their conference. You got Wasilla, and I'm sorry, not Wasilla. You got West Valley and Lathrop, who both lost.
Right.
And so those
Colony's
3.
not looking bad.
No. The 3 schools out in the valley look like they got a good chance of being the 3 representatives for the playoffs after one game, which who knows what that says.
7 more to go.
Says that
7 more.
Chugiak got lucky beating West Valley by 11.
Yeah. I don't see that anywhere.
It's on my notes.
That's what it is. It's right here.
Oh, okay.
All right. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here tonight. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. On behalf of Rick Whitbeck, Heath Day, Keaton Homer, I'm Skip Hurst signing off. Final score here. We'll see you tomorrow night.
They can be enlightening or engaging. Conversations help us learn and grow. At Wells Fargo, we believe you can never underestimate the power of a conversation. It's this exchange of ideas that helps you move ahead with confidence. So when the conversation turns to your financial goals, turn to us. Wells Fargo. Together we'll go far.
Have the appetite of a major leaguer? Go where the Alaskans go for their game. Buckets in Soldotna. Always a home run. Buckets serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week. Stop on by to enjoy a juicy wild game burger, a bases-loaded baked potato, or halibut with flavor that knocks it out of the park. Whether you're watching the game on one of their many big screens or talking about how your team won or lost, Buckets is your home for all-star food and major league fun. Check out Buckets in Soldotna on the web at bucketsportsgrill.com.